What I'm not telling you is to be yes people to your managers. I'm telling you to be agents of change. But it's very, very important to understand that being right is often in conflict with winning. You also want to win, and you need to approach things correctly and as such, and try to go up the ladder through your managers, which in almost all cases at TransPerfect have sat in the same seat that you're sitting in now and done your job. So I never really had a chance to teach history. I've done a lot of things in my life. So we thought we would kind of mix up our material, and we know you've had a lot of sales content and managerial content, so maybe we would break it up a little bit with some mythology of the Greeks. Next slide, please. Prometheus. Does anybody know this story? Prometheus was trying to do the right thing, right? Prometheus wanted to make humankind progress. And Zeus is actually, if you think of Zeus as a really senior manager in this world, wanted mankind to progress also, but Zeus thought that mankind wasn't ready for fire. And so Prometheus, he got a little ahead of himself. He took the fire, he stole the fire, and instead of involving Zeus in the decision, Prometheus just kind of took the law into his own hands and brought fire to the humans. Humankind progressed, and it was fantastic, and it was just the way Prometheus thought it would be, and just what Zeus wanted. But at the end of the day, what Prometheus did not do is he did not understand the Ballpark Principle, which is when you're in someone else's ballpark, you need to follow their rules until you gain enough power and you have enough credibility to start changing and writing the rules. So what Prometheus, if he didn't want to be tortured for the rest of his life or tortured for eternity, what Prometheus could have done is he could have gone up the ladder, talking to the other gods, got some kind of approval on what he was doing. So Prometheus was correct, and it was what Zeus wanted in the end, but he was condemned to being tortured for an eternity. The lesson about the Ballpark Principle is, and this is very, very important, what I'm not telling you is to be yes people to your managers. I'm telling you to be agents of change. But it's very, very important to understand that being right is often in conflict with winning. You also want to win, and you need to approach things correctly and as such, and try to go up the ladder through your managers, which in almost all cases at TransPerfect have sat in the same seat that you're sitting in now and done your job. Okay, anybody know this story? Scylla and Charybdis? Okay, for those of you that don't know, the movie The Odyssey is coming out, and this is a little bit of a spoiler alert maybe. This is the first example of being caught between a rock and a hard place, right? So Odysseus is on this 10-year journey, and he's got to get his team home, and he's faced with this decision. It's an unwinnable situation. He's got a whirlpool on one side with his boat and his men, and he's got a six-headed monster on the other side. So Odysseus does two things that I want you to pay attention to. The first thing is he realizes he doesn't know, and so he goes to visit the witch goddess named Circe, and he asks, okay? If you're faced with a moral dilemma, it is not dishonorable to ask your managers or somebody you trust or somebody 3 rungs above you in the chain of command, right? So what did Odysseus, he went and asked, and what Odysseus found out, or the advice that he got from Circe, was that he should go by Scylla, the six-headed monster, because he's only going to lose a certain number of his men that way with the sea monster, as opposed to lose the whole boat, right? So he went and asked. He chose Scylla. He sailed by Scylla, and he lost 6 men because it was a six-headed monster, right? But he didn't lose the whole boat. The other thing that Odysseus did in this situation is he made a decision quickly and he moved forward. All right, so we often say, as a manager, it doesn't necessarily even matter what decision you make. It's you make your decision, you're fully for that decision until you have new information and you change your decision. I think everybody thinks of Hercules as a positive character. Hercules had a really, really rough start. He pissed off the gods, and he was put in a fit of madness, and he killed his own family. And then he went to visit the oracle at Delphi, and he was required to do 12 near impossible tasks, right? And I've heard a lot of stories in this conference and the one that happened before you about how these Herculean efforts that are required. And what I think we can learn from Hercules is that persistence is all-powerful. There's a quote up here from a little-known U.S. president, Calvin Coolidge, which goes something along the lines of, "There's nothing more common in this world than unrewarded genius," right? It's a proverb. Persistence is all-powerful. So you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to go out there and try. You've got to not beat yourself up about your failures. You actually will not really remember them that harshly. You'll remember them, but you won't remember them that harshly. But you will remember your successes.
Well, if you do remember them, you have to learn from them. Success and progress and growth is not a straight line. You guys all know that. I constantly tell people it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. So when it comes to making decisions or making changes and things that we need to do, there are going to be times we're going to have to pivot on the fly, be open to whatever situation is ongoing, versus kind of digging your head in the sand and be like, this is the only way it has to be. And if you ever hear that, oh, well, this is the way it used to be, and it doesn't make any sense, continue to push and persevere until you get not only the why, but the ability to make that change, like we said in the first slide.